Look, or that one's just recording straight onto YouTube, but it's not live. And then, good morning. So that one's recording, but then now I'm pushing live on my end. You just can't see it. Sure. I know, it's like not, oh, where's the ticker? Oh, yeah, I can see the numbers going by. Okay. Do I look amazing, Steve? Do I look amazing? Okay, good. No, the thought that you had while you were driving over here, where you went, Kristen's still setting up her technology. I know she is. That was correct. Yeah, that was spot on. Yeah, that's exactly. I'm going to take a breath here. I have an interesting thing happens to me. I get super clear. It's not interesting. It's very common for ADHD brains, but I get really, really clear on the smaller steps between the main ideas 2 days before my presentation. That's why I have these presentations and why I do it live and why I ask people to come in and stuff like that. And I'm offering it because it helps me so much to have that hard deadline where I'm going to be in a room with faces. And, and I kind of like, I haven't put it out to all the doctors or anything that I'm doing this because I have my familiar people who I know are like comfortable, but so I get like hyper focused on, the presentation, and I reconfigure the ideas and reconfigure it and reconfigure it. And we talked last time about, you guys were all here last time. We talked, were you here at the, yeah. We talked last time about the 3D thinking and how, and I'm just like super cyclical in my thinking, and I'm thinking this way, and this idea branches off to that idea. And that's where the good ideas come from, is that branch off and that tangent. But man, I am surprised how incredibly challenging it is. Did the screen go blank or anything? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I am so surprised at how wildly challenging it is to take all of the storm of 3D thinking and line it up, while sitting in a room kind of by myself, like make it linear. And, slides force you to do that, is to make it linear. And so they say that Einstein's wife wrote most of his papers in college, that it was his ideas, but she had to like take all that genius and 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 line it up into a succinct, that made sense to other people. And I totally get that. And I don't know, I've kind of discovered something about myself. I think that in counseling, I think I've gotten it fine tuned where I respond to people's faces and I respond to people's body language, and that keeps me back on track. But when I don't have somebody in front of me to do that and I'm trying to put these slides together, it is wild how I am like walking around. I'm like rewriting the outline. I have sticky notes up and down my bedroom door. I have it rewritten on my bathroom mirror. I have it rewritten on the sliding glass door. I have it rewritten in my book. I have it. I've like rewritten like, and I had lunch with Allison Burns, who's my friend for the Chad groups, and she's like reconfiguring. I'm doing the presentation with my husband, and he's like, okay, wait, I'm lost here. And I'm like, okay, to like try to figure it out. I had lunch with my mom yesterday to talk it out. And then I'm like bugging her and following her around a store. Okay, and then maybe I could talk about this. And then that would fall into this and this. And she's like, like, okay. And stuff. And she's like, yeah, that sounds good. I'm like, no, don't talk, Mom. Okay. I gotta go outside and write this down and stuff. So it's like I reinvented this over and over again and got the slides done at 11:52. And I told you last month, I was like, come in and next week come in, because we're gonna share some strategies for homework time. And it's Steve's gig. He's my coach here. He coaches for me, and he does the homework, the executive function coaching with the students and stuff. And I was like, I might have the slides done at 11:55 the night before, so you can look them over. But yeah, so if you look at that date stamp on that email, I sent an email out, or I said that no, I put it up on Facebook that the slides were up there. So if anybody is following me on Facebook, if anybody's following me on Facebook, look at the posts on Facebook. I posted the website. It's a Google site that I had that I posted the slides up on, and that's actually what's on the board right now. So I kind of wanted to give a little introduction to that. How am I doing this? Let's see here. Oh, I gotta bring my cursor over here. All right. So this is that link. This is the home of this course that I'm developing. That's basically an accumulation. I was telling a family friend yesterday that it feels like I'm cleaning my garage and moving. It's like an accumulation of everything I've experienced and learned in my life as an ADHDer, and then also as a teacher for 5 years and as a counselor for 20 for 20 years. I've been working with kids and families and stuff, so it's an interesting thing. But you're old. I know. Fired. No, just kidding. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. I have rejection sensitivity. Don't leave. Okay, so here's the deal. Last month we did the setup portion of it, which is going to be eventually, when this is a course, that'll be basically module 1 will be the semester setup, and that kind of addresses some things that I think that I found in my counseling and my coaching that I would address with parents at the beginning of the semester over and over 5 years of focusing on this. It was the same thing kind of at the beginning of the semester. And so I had addressed a bunch of that, and I took the video from last month, which was just not the greatest quality video, but just look past that and look at the content and cut it up a little bit into little bite-sized pieces. They're having a hard time loading right now on the screen, but then underneath that is the full presentation and the recorded live stream. So uncut version of the recorded live stream. So all of my goofy antics and jokes and mistakes and everything. Watch, watch at your own risk. And then the supply list, Amazon supply lists, and when is the next group and stuff. So that's that's one of the pages in this website. So now we're at the second kind of module, and I'm gonna let it load. Let me give it a second to load here. And the second module is homework happiness, because it's February that the wheels start to fall off of homework time. This is the month of hiding things. Uh, and obviously the second semester is a little different than the first semester, but this is the month of, oh shoot, I forgot to hand that in. Oh, I'm gonna hide that because the kids are still trying to ride that gravy train of mom and dad are not on my back yet, and things haven't gone nuclear at home yet, and I want to keep the peace for as long as I can and stuff. So it's a natural progression. If that's happening in your home, hey, you're in good company. So here's our slides. And also on that website, right underneath the slides is presentation notes. And it's just a very bland black and white, not real fancy outline of the main ideas in this presentation. And I made a couple copies for you ladies. For those of you who came and joined me, somebody printed it out ahead of time. Who's the neurotypical in the room? No, I'm joking. Okay, so let's see. Nope, you get none. There we go. Smell. Stephen might give you one too.
Every time you say something about how you think, I'm like, oh my God, that's how I do it.
That's how I do it, right? Yeah. Oh, nobody spells my name right.
You did it.
Oh, I didn't spell my name right. Nice cat. Who's the neurotypical in the room? The same way. Okay, let's see here. I have a couple of different schedules.
I think we become so used to Microsoft underlining errors in all of our work.
Yeah.
This must be a different product.
Something. Or I just didn't see it or look at it, or who has time? I have an assistant. But again, back to the previous story, I finished these slides at 11:57 last night, and I was going to, and I love my assistant, so instead of going, hey, check this. Yeah. No, I mean, this is, I consider this kind of like the first draft of these lessons, and so that's why I'm building it. So that's why I'm offering it for free right now. So I am not somebody who gets offended at all when mistakes are pointed out. I'm gonna have like 1,000 little Facebook comments now about all the little things. Like I showed this to Steve, and he's like, "Is genius spelled wrong?" I was like, "Oh, that's ironic." Okay, great. Yeah, right. Whatever. No shame in my game. I'm good. Let's see if this thing works. I don't know. Hmm. So there's the genius that was spelled wrong. Can you tell how I spelled it wrong? Because I covered it up. There's an E there. That's yep. Because that's a graphic. That's not a text box. I could just delete it. Anyway. Okay. So um, if you go to my website, at the very tip top of my website, those of you who are at home and streaming or watching this, at the very tip top of my website, as of at least today, there's the Facebook link, and there's a link to the YouTube, which is where all the videos get uploaded, and then there's a link to the site that has the handouts and the links and things like that, everything you could need. So all that stuff, and also for scheduling an appointment with me. So my one of my missions is to make parents ADHD info geniuses, because we all know that ADHD is this is the time where it is the most understood and misunderstood that it's ever been. And I think it's time. The scientists have done their thing and the specialists have done their thing, and there's good information out there, there's accurate information out there. Now it's time for us in the trenches to do our thing. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. I can't remember which button I pushed. Oh, not that one. There we go. So I'm Kristen. I'll do a little introduction. The ladies sitting in front of me know me, and they've heard this introduction 18 times. But my name is Kristen Woolen. I'm a family therapist out in the North Valley in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was an ADHD student, but I didn't know I was ADHD until my 20s. And then I went into teaching, and I taught for 5 years. And I loved teaching, but I was really fascinated by that behavior. So it was a natural progression to go into counseling after that. And I went in, I got my degree in family therapy, and then went into public behavioral health and worked for Jewish Family Children's Services, and went from there to working in corrections. So, and while I was working at JFCS, I did substance abuse therapy. So, I watched kids that I identified with because they struggled and were like, would lose track of time, or were running late, or doing things at the last minute. And they just had a brain like mine. And I watched them through my profession with people helping them, teachers that are wonderful people, counselors that are wonderful people, desperately wanting to help them. And I watched kids fail. I watched them get in trouble, get kicked out of class for not paying attention. I watched them get in trouble at home for not writing their agenda. Then I watched them, then things got even worse. I watched them fall into depression and go into anxiety. I watched them get addicted to drugs. And then I watched them go into corrections and get very, very stuck in corrections. And so when I came out in 2012, God gave us two little girls, two little adopted girls. And so working in corrections and having a toddler and an infant was too much. So I went into private practice. And when you're in private practice, you get to work with whoever you want to work with. It's lovely. And I said, as a natural problem solver, said, I'm going to figure this out. What in the heck is leading these kids to all of this just despair that we see? And so that's sort of what I've set off to do. And that's where this practice was born, because I think one of the missing pieces is the coaching piece. Counseling, I believe in counseling, and I believe in the power of counseling. I value education. I believe in teachers. And I believe in the impact that education can have on your life. But there's something about each one of those things that is not quite completely hitting the mark for these ADHD kids, because they're still falling apart. So I think that coaching is part of it. So I started to develop a coaching program that was aimed towards executive functions. It's more of the newer knowledge about ADHD, is that it directly affects your executive functions. So I dove into studying executive functions and developed a program that is the Academic Strategies and Accountability Program. Hired some wonderful people to help me kind of develop these systems and strategies. And meanwhile, I'm working with parents on systems and strategies as well. So over the course of 5 years, I found patterns. I found myself talking about the same things in January, talking about the same things in February, teaching the same things in January, teaching the same things in February. And I have some parents, as I would run a group here and there, that were like, I'm like, well, I might as well just run a group that I'm teaching the same thing. Let's get everybody in one room and I'll teach it to them. And I had some parents, like that one over there, who's telling me, you need to put this, on the internet, or you need to have a big, or you need to get into schools, or you need to, people need to know this stuff. And I went, oh, I feel nervous. And so now I'm kind of taking that leap and doing that and getting this information out there. And that lands us into today. And so here we are. And I went the wrong way again. I'll get the hang of it. Yeah. At the end, at the last slide, the 99th slide. Hi, Austin, one of my other coaches. So these are the kids that I work with. I love these kids. Anybody have kids like this at home? There's one of these kids here. Yeah. Yeah. Do you see your child in here anywhere? Yeah. And I love working with these kids, which kind of makes me unique because ADHD kids are hard to work with, right? And I love working with oppositional kids. Now I'm going to get 1,000 phone calls. People wanting to get their kids because oppositional kids are difficult too. But I adore working with these kids. And one of the reasons why is because they come with parents like that. Now you have someone who will always go along with your brilliant ideas. Yeah. Outside of the box thinkers. I like it. I like it. So I'm kind of on a mission here. I'm in a mission to inform expectation. I tend to use the words informed expectation rather than realistic expectation. When you go to school meetings, by the way, side note, when you go to school meetings, use the word informed expectation rather than realistic. We need to have more realistic expectations because that's received, the counselor side of me is, that's received as insulting. Like, oh, I'm not realistic. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm doing. Say, let's have more informed expectation. And to be honest with you, I think that's on us as parents, as counselors, as the people who are in the tribe. It's if your people don't get it, part of that is on us. And we're gonna address that actually. So reducing frustration, something I noticed is that when I educated parents, no matter who the parent was and where they're coming from, even if they're coming into my office and one parent's like, I'm pretty sure this is ADHD, and the other parent's saying, no, ADHD is not a thing. These kids just need stronger discipline. They need stronger parenting, things like that. It doesn't matter what the belief system was that the person was coming in with. I found that when I educated people about the ADHD, that when I educated just the science behind it, I mean, these aren't my ideas, this is just what we know from data, that immediately reduced frustration. And what I found was that I think what happens is that we're, working off of the belief system that we were taught, and we're confused and we don't understand what's going on with our kids, which kind of causes our brain to default into, well, they're just being a jerk. And then they're being a jerk turns us into, how dare you be a jerk after all the things I did. And then there is your resentment, and resentment just leads you down just a dark, dark, dark path. And next thing you know, you're just feeling terrible because you're not really liking your kid very much. And things like that. So, and it feels awful for us. And so reducing frustration is one of my major goals. And finding a better way, which is what I talked about. So there's a pattern that I found. There's an ebb and flow. It doesn't matter what, kind of matters what grade the kid is in, but for the most part, most kids about 3rd grade and up, kids tend to, I found, and one of my superpowers is recognizing patterns. So I found a pattern in the ebb and flow of struggle and the ebb and flow of different executive function failures that would happen at particular times of the semester. And I started training my coaches on that. Okay, remember, here comes this season. Okay, this is when homework time is going to start to get hard. Oh, here comes, here comes the motivation completely falls out of their sales time, things like that. And then we were able to structure strategies so that we could address the problem before it inevitably came up, and it always came up. So I basically structured this course based on that. So last semester was semester setup. We're riding the gravy train of new semester, fresh start, You know, they don't have the pain of guilt and shame on their shoulders just yet because they forgot this or forgot that or didn't hand in this or whatever, despite their best interests, their best efforts. And now February is when homework time starts to get hard. So what happens here is that, and there, I could do a whole hour on motivation. Motivation is not exactly what we think it is. Self motivation is your ability to tell yourself to do something, and then your brain gives you everything you need, whether regardless of feeling, regardless of emotion. And Russell Barkley talks about this in one of the videos that I put on my YouTube channel. I think it's like Kristen's Picks for Parents or Kristen's Picks or something like that. It's one of those videos, and he talks about this. He says that this notion that motivation and self-discipline, that's a trait, and it's an executive function of the brain, and you can enhance it and fine tune it, but it is not something that you grow into a child or discipline into a child. And so he said these kids, we develop internal discipline over time through growing, not environmental factors. And what we do is we go from a state of emotional based motivation where we need a motivation that's on the outside of our body or that's emotion based. I want that because it tastes good. I want that because it feels good. I want that because I'm curious, things like that. To a motivational state where we can ignite our brain and get our brain to focus and do what it needs to do just because. And it has nothing to do with emotion. We know our kids are delayed by 3 years. And some kids don't even catch up with that motivation. So this, you can imagine, plays out pretty strongly in the semester. I'm really going on a tangent right now. I need to like redirect myself back. So
I think it's important for a ninth grader. You're talking about he or she could be functioning at a level of a sixth grade,
yeah,
which is like a huge difference in the school world.
yeah. So Steve's talking about a ninth. I don't know if they can hear. So Steve's talking about how a ninth grader is functioning at that motivational level and at that ability to organize and manage their homework at a sixth grade level, and that's a huge deal. I mean, think about a 8-year-old is functioning at a 5-year-old's level. That's not even kindergarten yet, and they're given homework packets. So tricky. So February, the second month of the semester, is usually when homework time, their motivation, they don't see the beginning. Things aren't as new anymore, and stuff is starting to fall apart because there is heavier content being introduced in the classrooms, and that's taxing on their brains. There's more new stuff that their brain's trying to figure out where to put it and analyze it. So they're not absorbing quite as much in the classrooms because there's more new stuff and more complex information coming in. And then this also tends to be the month that projects start to come into play, longer term papers, tests start to come into play, which is also taxing on our executive functions. And so it's kind of like this perfect little storm starts to come in and just sort of like wears away at our kid. Meanwhile, simultaneously, our kiddos' internal motivation or that emotional motivation is wearing off. So you'll find yourself in February in the second month being about half. You feel like you'll feel like you're carrying about half of the weight, about half of the motivation, about half of the come on, let's get up and go. And then what happens in around March, around the third month, in that middle section of the semester, all the wind goes out of their sails, no matter what. They can't see because of time blindness. Watch the video from last month. Because of time blindness, they can't see the front beginning, they can't see the end. They are emotionally and motivation wise floating out in the middle of an ocean with no land in sight. I don't even know where I'm going. This is when you get the comments, why? Why do I need to do? Why are we doing this? Is stupid. Why am I doing this? Because you're asking them to row and row and row, and they don't even see land. They don't see any promise. Why am I doing this? Why am I working so hard? And stuff. And you'll find yourself that they'll maybe have 10% of the motivation at home towards the grade. And it's not desire. They desire to do well. They don't want to be in trouble and they don't want to be fighting. It's the emotional motivation has gone out, and you'll find yourself being 90% of towing. So we're going to tackle that next month, that incentivize to, and it's actually incentivized to re-energize them because I have strategies, I have tricks for that. And then we're going to go into focus factors the next month because we're gearing up for finals and the content's harder and they're starting to take a lot of end of unit tests at that point. And then I jokingly say the last month is you're just pretty much counting bodies at that point. In the last month, we're going to collect our tribe. We are going to reflect back on the semester and go, who was helpful? And who are we going to let go of? Because at the end of that, they can see the land. It's right there. And all of a sudden, they put their afterburners on and they crank out, 5 weeks of work in one night. And, it drives you crazy. All right. So that's next month. Incentivize to re-energize. So if you see their motivation starting to fail them, don't worry, I got you. So to
29th. Huh.
29th.
So it's a leap year.
Who? 29th.
It's a leap year.
Winner. I should have candy. That I throw at people when they find my mistakes or fidget. I have fidgets here. I got fidgets. So I had already kind of explained this to you guys last month, that this is kind of a one-way street. I love running groups where we talk about, we share our stories and things like that. This is not one of those situations. This is me just kind of trying to get this content out and rapid firing these strategies at you. So it's a bit of a one-way street. We're not really, I don't want to say don't ask questions, but there's going to be some assembly needed, and I'm gonna rapid fire some bits and pieces at you, and you're going to have to kind of put it together and apply it to your life yourself. The strategies that I create and offer, and I teach this to the coaches, is very specifically engineered to be a jumping off place, because everybody's got to figure out what works for them. And I am not in any position to tell somebody what's right and wrong for their family. And I'm not going to tell you what to do. Even when I did substance abuse therapy, I would tell those kids, I'm not going to tell you not to do drugs. That's not my job. That's your body, and stuff. So this is a jumping off place. So as much as I might put step 1, step 2, step 3, that doesn't mean this is a homework assignment. You better follow step 1, step 2, step 3. Okay. You apply it how you apply it. Now, here's the good news. I'm offering a couple of different things. I am offering Troubleshooting Tuesdays, kind of covered up. I'm offering Troubleshooting Tuesdays on the first 3 Tuesdays of the month at 11 to 1. I'm online. Hop in, jump in, ask a question. Had a hard morning. I've had a couple of moms come in when they've had a tough morning, and just jump in, ask a question. I'm just sitting there at my desk chilling out. Just feel free to hop in and don't turn on the camera if you don't want the camera turned on, and just listen if you want to, whatever. And you just go to my website and you can get into that link. We also, Allison and I run the North Valley Chad group out here. And this month on February 13th, it's a Thursday, 6 to 7:30 out in Phoenix here. We don't record it or live stream it, but Allison and I are going to get together afterwards and go over what we learned in that group and kind of chat about it and post that video. So even if you can't make it there on that Thursday, keep an eye on my YouTube channel, because I did the same thing last week, the day after, in my t-shirt and sweatshirt and my crazy calendar system in the background. I did a little summary of we had a neuropsychologist come and talk to us, and it was interesting. It was great. She had some suggestions and some book suggestions, and it was fun. So I summarized it because I'm all done with this limitation of, if you can't make it in here or you can't make it into an office with me, then you don't get to have this information. I don't like it. So I'm trying to put this stuff out there. So we have social thinking, those kiddos that struggle with those social relationships and the friendships and the rejection and things like that. This is your gal. She's awesome sauce. And the kids who are aggressive and they just don't seem to get it and they lose friendships because of it, this is your gal. So try to make it if you can. Yeah. Yep. All the groups are going to be here. Yeah. So even if you can't make it, keep an eye on the YouTube channel and our Facebook pages, and we'll post a summary afterwards. And then just a shout out to North Valley Tutoring, because they're awesome. And that's Allison, who's my friend who runs this group with me. That's her tutoring company, and they're a fantastic resource as well out in Phoenix. And so check out their Facebook page, because she posts webinars. So even if you're out of state, you don't live in Arizona or out of Phoenix, you can still benefit from her stuff.
I heard her speak before. She's fantastic. Very helpful.
Yeah, Anita? Yeah. Allison is so good at networking. She's so much better than me. It's so good to have friends that do things so much better than you do. Isn't that great? I have one of my old friends over there who does lots of things way better than I do. Steve, we're still trying to figure out what he does better than me. We haven't figured that one out yet. Hang in there, Steve. We'll figure it. We'll find it. All right. I repeat this over and over because I think we need to be reminded of this in a world of get things done and productivity is everything. The greatest predictor of your child's success, your unique learner's child's success, is their self-esteem. Being a struggling student is so hard. And the thing that's going to get them through is not their grade. It's their belief in themselves and their ability to get their butt off the ground when they trip and fall flat on their face, when they study for an hour and they fail the test. It's their ability to, well, I got another test tomorrow, let's try it again. Is to get in there and try again and try something different. Thomas Edison, the word out there is that he had a failed attempt at the light bulb 10,000 times. 10, even I'm not that great. 10, who in their right mind keeps going? 10, and thank God, right? That light bulb there, light bulb there, light bulb there, light bulb there, right? And there's a video on that, and I posted the video on the slides. I'm not going to play it, but if you look up the slides, you can play it off of the slides, or just look up the YouTube, whatever. So how do you do that? How do you embrace your self-esteem? Tell them that you love them every day? Yeah, but this is a great roadmap for that. Love their skills. If they're 6th grade and they're reading at a 3rd grade level, play it up. Love their skills. Just be impressed with everything that they do, with the things that they do, and embrace their interests. For our unique learners, specifically for our unique learners, their interest is their roadmap to successful living, not their reading level. Am I right, teacher? Got a language arts teacher over here. How long have you been teaching? 20? 21 years. And she's going like this. Yep. Their interest is their roadmap to a successful living. Don't believe what you hear. It is not their reading level. I want to put you on camera and make you go like this and like prove it to the people on. And I keep talking to the camera because I already know, because in my head, I know you already know this. So I'm like, I'm going to ignore you guys. So eventually I'm going to stop talking to the camera and just, okay, this is today's plan, everybody. Let's drink some coffee. Let's ignore negativity. Kick some ass. Sorry, kids. Sorry. I'm pretty sure your mom cusses. Yeah. Sorry, Steve. Steve, earmuffs. Steve. Mom. Sorry, Mom. I'm going to be in trouble. You never don't get in trouble from your parents, you know what I mean? It's annoying. All right. So homework time, right? Am I right? Yeah. You got the one parent that just, I don't know. You know, got the other parent that's like, I'm going to throw this kid through the window. And then you just got the kid in the middle that's like, hi, life. Right? I'd like to change that dynamic, but I do think that image is adorable. I thought this was kind of funny. This kind of looks like homework time to me. Like, do you guys ever find yourself holding most of the weight and exhausted? Look how tired that doggy looks. And your kids like face the other way, like some looking at the cat somewhere else, and you're just like, I'm just trying to get this assignment done. Is that just totally what it feels like? So weird. Something's got to change. So something that we can all agree on is what's happening right now isn't working. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why you're watching this. That's why you're here. That's why Steve is a vice principal for 9 years and is doing coaching. And that's why my friend who's a teacher is here, because something is not working in a major way, And it might call for a major shift. Shameless plug. Shift. I love that acronym. To feel like this a little bit. I keep trying and I keep trying and I keep trying and I keep trying and I keep trying. And this is the same thing for teachers too. Teachers feel this way too. I keep trying and just like, I just can't get the arrow to hit the mark. Like, what is the deal? And my theory on that Oh, I'm sorry. Here's a couple of the marks that, here's a couple of the arrows that we're shooting out that are not quite hitting the mark. So what you do is you look at the problem, right? What is the target we're going for? What is the problem? What's going wrong here? Something's not working. And I plug these videos in there. I strongly recommend watching these videos because these videos will explain some of the reasons why our false assumptions are not working. So my question to you is when you look at this, be honest with yourself in thinking to yourself, which ones do I do? What is true for me? Which ones are these false assumptions that I hold on to? They should be able to get started. They should be able to keep themselves on track. They should be old enough to do it themselves. They should know when they're spacing. Hey, you're spacing out. Hey, focus. You should know that you're spacing out. Look what you're doing. You're playing with the ball on the ground. You're not even in your chair. You should know that. They should know how long it'll take them. Didn't you know that you were going to need 3 days to do this project? They should know that how long it would take them to do that. They should know how long they've been working. Oh my gosh, we have been working on this math assignment for an hour and you have only gotten 2 problems done. I'm going to lose the donkey, right? I'm going to lose my mind. Don't you know how long we've been working on this? That's one of our false assumptions. They should just want to get it done. You should want to just get this done. Don't you want to get good grades, go to good college, and have a good life? You should be better able to focus after a brain break. Come on! Kristen said so. Kristen said if you take a brain break, you're magically going to become a student afterwards. Now do it. You should be able to focus without distractions. I put you in a padded a padded pure white nothing on the walls room with 0 sound and just a book and a pencil with a working eraser. Why is this not done? Right? You should be able to focus. There's no distractions. You should be able to stop thinking about it. Why are you still talking about your friend at school? Why are we still talking about the video game? Focus on the homework. Why are you still talking about the video game? That you should be able to stop thinking about that and you should be able to remember. You should be able to remember. Didn't you just do this math today? Did I not just do this math problem with you just now, right now, right now? Just do it again. Just repeat just do exactly what we just do it. We just went over that spelling word. You should. And then the justs. Just sit. Just sit still. There's a reason why I stand when I do these presentations. Just, are you cracking up back there? Yeah. Just get started. Oh my God, just get started. Stop talking about the video game. Just get it done. Let us move on with life. Right? Would you just hand it in? Would you just please hand this in? I have asked you 3 times. I've reminded you 3 times. Would you please just, right? Now, and we totally laugh because it's funny because it's true. Right? But if you look at this, I mean, this is the stuff that, this is the majority of the stuff the parents come in complaining about. And the instant reaction in my brain, as being an ADHD science nerd, I go, well, yeah, in my head, right? I go, that's because they're ADHD. ADHDers don't do that stuff. They don't function that way. And I think that's why we have this false assumption because we are applying neurotypical rules, expectations, and assumptions to our unique brain kids, our beautifully unique brain kids. And that, I think, is where we're falling short. And that includes teachers too, but also us parents, right? And I don't think it's anything to feel guilty about, but I think it's something to pay attention to and notice because we can only do what we can do with what we know. And we can only use what we were taught. We talked about this last group. Because like almost every group, I have tears at almost every group because of the guilt and the shame that us moms feel, right? And stuff. We can only apply what we know. We can only use our informed expectations. So you're watching this, you guys are here, you're exactly doing the right thing. You're informing your expectation. And also when you don't know what else to do, you can only go back on what you actually know. So cut yourself a break, man. I'm positive. My mom sitting right there, she could probably come up here and give you, I see tears in everybody's eyes as I'm trying to tell you people to forgive yourself. Why is everybody starting to cry? I'm sure that my mom will sit up here and give you a whole list of things that she feels terrible about. I've just brought them up into her mind right now. Sorry, mom. Wow, my mom's crying. All right. No. So let's talk about a shift. Let's change this, guys. Let's change it. We can do this. And I think I've got a path. So we're going to keep in mind that we can't measure our kids by the same standards as neurotypical kids. And that doesn't mean less standards. It's different. It's apples and oranges kind of comparison. So like this, I love this cartoon. And that's why I put it on the website and everything. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Right? The monkey's smiling. There's your A student. Okay, no problem. I was spelling supercalifragilistic or whatever when I was 4 years old. Sure, why not? Dog's like, okay, I'll give it a try. Why not? The fish is like, huh? What? I'm sorry, excuse me, I have to climb a tree. They can't swim like the fish can. Well, maybe a seal. We have fish, and they do beautiful things, and they do amazing things. We have fish, and they are being measured by their ability to climb a tree. And it's not really fair to them, which is why we're getting this conflict and why things are not working. So we need a shift. This is kind of me sharing more about how our kids are different. Their frontal lobes have less neurons, less mass. Literally, you take the brain out and weigh less mass, and lower neural activity in not just their frontal lobes, in different areas of their lobes, but in their frontal lobes. We have imagery from the 70s that shows it clearly that these brains are totally different. But we keep applying the rules for the 80% of the population to our 20% are kids. And I think I'm onto something, and I think I've got our first steps into the right direction. So we've been barking up the wrong tree, right? And our kids are going, what are you talking about? Stop being crazy, mom, right? Am I right? Stop being crazy, mom, am I right? Got a kid in here, yeah? Yeah? So we're barking up the wrong tree. We're asking our kids to be neurotypical. Now, school is all about sameness. Everybody do the same thing, line up the same way, do the same thing. And there's, lots of teachers bend over backwards and work late nights and are heroes in trying to meet the needs of every single one of their kids, which is completely impossible, but they keep trying and they're amazing. And things, but the school system as it is all about sameness. Everybody do the same, and if you're doing something different, you're going to click down, right? So that's been creating unrealistic and uninformed expectations. It creates confusion and fear. I mean, do you feel that, parents? Do you feel that confusion and fear when your kids they're not picking up on spelling or reading? They're not doing the math work that they know how to do. They're just not doing it as quickly as everybody else. They're not measuring up quite the same. There's confusion and fear. And we tend to, because we grew up in this is bothering me. If I go like that, does that mess up?
I tried to zoom in earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's just a little more sun. Because, can you see that?
Like
Yeah. I'll edit it later. Don't worry. With my awesome editing where the audio doesn't even match my mouth moving. That editing. That's what I'm going to do. Just listen to it in the car. Don't even look at the picture. The content is good. Just, I'll hire somebody someday. Okay, so your confusion and fear. And the thing is that we grew up with, if you're not the same as everybody else, you better hide. Because the name on the board, right? You are going to be publicly ridiculed. So you better hide. So a lot of us women, actually, and a lot of ADHD women, we hide in the shadows, and we kind of hide. And oh no, I don't want to be that kid that stands out. I don't want to be that kid that stands out. And that has really worked against us in a major way because we have a lot of uninformed teachers and staff at school. And we're very fearful of like being out there with this is the deal. And that, if you think about it, also adds to the shame that our kids might feel, right? You better hand that in or else she's going to know that you weren't studying and you didn't do this and you didn't do that. You got to hide this. Like we're kind of teaching that. And I think we need to have a little paradigm shift on that. So then that guilt and that shame and that hiding of that stuff, that not talking to the teachers until you have to stuff, then we go into a meeting and we go, hey, it's November. We've been studying until 11 o'clock every night. The kid's exhausted. They're complaining about how the kid's behavior is. And we're like, yeah, I mean, that's way too much work. And they're like, you're telling me this now? Because all the homework's been coming back perfectly fine. How in the world would the teachers ever know that? You know? And so then they think you're making it up. And you're just trying to cut yourself a break, right? And you're being treated that way. Yeah, okay, sure, And they're even, master's level therapist diagnosis signs off on it, and they go, sure, ADHD, whatever you say. They're just making stuff up, trying to get out of work, whatever. We hear it all the time. I think we've just given the wrong impression. We got to go about it in a different way. So then there's failure and there's frustration, both sides. There's resentment and anger. And I mean, it just makes sense to me. And I don't know of a study necessarily that says this. This is more my theory and my idea, but it makes sense to me that all of that turns into pain, depression, anxiety, suicide, self-harm, corrections. I'm going to forget you people. I'm going to find my own path. I'm not going to follow rules anymore. Stuff like that, right? I don't know. It just makes sense to me. So, and there's some really ugly statistics about the roads that our kids have been going down. That 87% will have a secondary psychiatric condition. It's a phenomenon that nobody can really explain, but there are some theories out there. 67% of those will have 2 additional conditions. Now, I'm putting this data up there just to land the point that our kids are in trouble, that they're in trouble. And honestly, it's the kids whose parents are not in here that are really in these statistics. It's really not your guys' coming kids, but to be honest with you, but I'm recording this and it's your guys' kid. No, it's not your guys. Okay. So most commonly we see depression, oppositional defiant disorder, bipolar, and anxiety. Mothers, this is something to pay attention to. Mothers of ADHD youth are more likely to suffer from depression. Please take care of yourself. I don't care if you have depression in your family history. I do not care if you're predisposed to depression. I don't care if you've been happy all your life and then now all of a sudden you're not. Take care of yourself. Mothers that are on antidepressants tend to do a little better with the strategies. And fathers, but also families with kids with ADHD have a way high, that's not going to be surprising, way higher rate of divorce rate too as well. That's not surprising. The annual cost of raising an ADHD child is 5 times that of a neurotypical child, and that does not include treatment. 5 times, 15,000. That does not include treatment. Now, this is an average number, so sometimes more, sometimes less, and it also includes vehicle accidents. So that probably made the number go up, a little bit there, but it is a significant amount of car accidents happen with ADHD youth because of that, I'm not even going to go into why, but there's like a million reasons why. You got a 16-year-old ADHDer driving a car. You've got a 13-year-old ADHD child driving a car. Please don't have them drive a car. Inhibition, focus. Oh, man. Yeah. If you're in Phoenix, don't have your kids driving a car because that's where I am. And my kids. Yeah. Eventually, hopefully, we get to a point where we have more respect for it and we have greater understanding like autism does. And then things like developmental disabilities will begin to recognize the need for the treatment and that it'll save money and stuff. But anyway, ADHD reduces life expectancy by 13 years. This is one of the more recent findings from Russell Barkley. Life expectancy, it's more. 13 years is more than any other condition that we're so concerned about and have national organizations for. Heart disease, diabetes, alcoholism, obesity. It is more than any of those things. Smoke, like for example, so just to put it in perspective, smoking daily reduces life expectancy by 6 years. Just being ADHD reduces your life expectancy by 13 years. And it has to do with accidental deaths. Lots and lots and lots of accidental deaths, which I know is very, very scary. 43 to 80% of ADHD kids will continue to be ADHD into adolescence. Honestly, guys, when you're born with this brain, you're going to continue to just have the brain. You don't magically not have an ADHD brain. But what that's really talking about is that you're going to suffer from symptoms. Like the symptoms are going to still get in your way. Like you're going to meet criteria for diagnosis is basically what it's saying. Once you're ADHD, you're ADHD. That's why I think that we shouldn't say we have ADHD. It's not a disease. It's who we are. I hate that. I hate that. Like, but that's a personal thing. That's me. We are ADHD. It's who we are, and we're geniuses because of it. So I think we need to more like embrace it. And I think when we say my child has ADHD, they do feel like it's a disease that they need to wash away, get rid of. Well, give me an antibiotic. Let's get rid of it. 20 to 27% or more are more likely to develop substance use disorders. The statistic is that ADHDers who started medication, or what I say you got symptom relief from medication before the age of 10, because medication doesn't work for everybody, but got symptom relief from medication before the age of 10 are less likely to develop substance abuse disorders than same age peers. Less likely. Kids who have not gotten symptom relief, one way or another, just ADHD kids, 6 times more likely to develop substance abuse disorder. Which most adults that are ADHD, that are parents that I talk to, they're like, yeah. And part of that, and I need to be sensitive because there's young ears in here. Part of that is that when you have that magical moment in the experimental stage that you suddenly can think because your dopamine raised and you can keep a thought and track conversation and not feel so silly and so stupid is magical. And when that happens, you don't want to let it go. 23 to 45% end up in juvenile corrections, and then they get stuck there because you know why? They're really, really good at it. They're super good at working the system. I mean, good at working the system. ADHD youth demonstrate higher risk for suicide and self-harm than depressed youth. We are all up in arms about depressed youth. Are they depressed? Are they depressed? Are they depressed? Do suicide watch. ADHD youth, not depressed, are at a higher risk of self-harm and suicide than depressed same age youth. Like, let that land with you. We are barking up the wrong tree on that one, for sure. We're dialed into the wrong one. Meanwhile, we still shame them for not being like everybody else, right? This one's kind of funky because it's kind of an old statistic. ADHDers miss school 3 to 10% of the time, twice as likely to drop out, and fail 7.5% of their courses. If you have a high school kid who's a unique learner and they had to repeat a high school class, welcome to the club. It's all of us. It's gonna happen. Let it go. Because honestly, summer school is a great experience because ADHDers tend to kick butt in summer school. Talk about hyper focusing on something and then get it done. It's the last 6 weeks of the semester. They just crank it out and they're rocking it and stuff. So yeah, don't worry, don't stress too much about that. But this statistic, Russell Barkley said at the CHAD conference that I went to a year and a half ago, that this statistic has actually improved by about 50% since the implementation of 504. So there's a way less dropout. So yay, success. Movement in the right direction. So what in the heck? I mean, all of those statistics can really make you start to feel like, what am I going to do? How am I going to keep my kids safe? Right? Well, there's some of us that made it out. We're okay. We did okay. Like, how did all these people do it? Right? How did they do it? And that's the question. How did they do it? And I think it boils down to self-esteem. I mean, how'd she do it? That's right. That's a picture of me as a child in my underwear. Yep. I'm gonna put it all out there. Just put it, Steve.
I've seen a picture.
Oh yeah, I know. I put it on Facebook. I love that picture because you know what? Wonder Woman and Supergirl. A little bit of both. I love that picture. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah, I do. I have the after. It's coming up. It's coming up. So, how did I? Okay, and now I brought my mom, and she's going to explain how she got me through childhood and to this point where I'm a reasonably successful human. And yeah, she's no. There are ADHD, adults can be diagnosed ADHD now, and ADHDers are natural entrepreneurs. And there are lots of adults that have blogs, coaching businesses, different things out there that they're putting out there. They're finally coming out of the shadows. They're finally coming out and saying, listen, this is what helped me be successful. Because what we have is this really beautiful opportunity right now because we have lots of adults that grew up with ADHD without being diagnosed. So they had to figure it out, move through like I did. And now they have all this wisdom to be able to share. So we have these great studies that are going on about like, what leads, kids that are unique learners, what leads them towards success, and have these great blogs and YouTube videos. You guys look those up. When you're looking up, how do I get my kid to do homework? Also remember how to be successful with ADHD. Look up ADHD superpower because that is a common theme. ADHD is my superpower. Common theme. That is the conclusion that a lot of ADHD adults have come to, is that I actually figured out how to live with my brain and use it. I threw away everything those teachers were telling me before about study ahead, do this, do that, do that, organize this, have things tidy, blah, 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 blah. That works for neurotypical people. Wiped it clean, and I was bold enough and oppositional enough. Yay, oppositional disorder. Oppositional enough to wipe it clean and go, there's got to be a different way. And they found a different way, and now they're putting it out there because ADHDers also like to be in the spotlight. So look that up. This is just a couple of different things. I love this. ADHD. We think more things before breakfast than most people think all day. This guy. This is cute. Nerdy mom's designs. ADHD superpowers, faster than slow people in the mall, more powerful than a bull in a china shop, and able to hyper focus on an interesting project for 6 hours straight without going pee. Superpower, right? Exploring the benefits of ADHD. So there's a lot of information that's coming out through the adult world that will tell you a lot about how your kid will survive with this brain of theirs. So look that up. Notice those things. Let go of the statistics. Our kids are going to change those statistics anyway. They're going to be irrelevant in 10 years. Look up your superpowers. And leading the charge is this fella who disappeared. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to play the video. I don't want it to play the video. When I push this button, let's find out. But this guy, and it kind of has him frozen on a funky face, but Dr. Edward Hollowell, his whole take on this is a trait. It's a human trait, and we need to learn how to live with it. His recommendation is keys to success for an ADHD person is marry the right person, get the right job. Not get straight A's. Marry the right person, get the right job. This guy is a psychiatrist, and meds don't work for him. Ironic. That's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. So let me talk about the epitome of somebody who knows what he's talking about and also knows what he's talking about. And he's awesome. And he has a practice, and he works with highly functioning ADHD adults that could be functioning better. He wrote Driven to Distraction. It popped up behind the video. I don't know how to bring it in front. He talks about Thomas Edison. Talks about there's Nobel Peace Prize winners. ADHD people have paved the way for progress in our society, and our kids are the next ones to do that. They're going to solve the problems that we're making for them right now. So we need to get them through. The CEO of JetBlue and Einstein. Oh, I really wanted that to pop up. Einstein didn't talk until he was 4. He didn't speak. And his teachers, when he was in elementary school, said he's not going to amount to anything. And he was kicked out of high school. And his wife wrote most of his papers in college. This is Hollowell's latest book. He's written 22,000 books. I don't know. Oh. All right. Here's two videos that I love to play for kids and people who are feeling really down about being ADHD and about being that 20%er and they're feeling shameful about it. So look up these slides and watch these videos. This How to ADHD is an amazing YouTube channel. If you have teenage girls, and it's great for adults, but if you have teenage girls, it's really great for everybody, but specifically teenage girls, man, get them on her YouTube channel. She is so adorable. I just adore her. And she's got the cutest, goofiest, kind of funny videos with very legit, very good, well-researched information in it. This says, is having ADHD an advantage? And it's ASAP Science. It's kind of coming off of the screen a little bit. Oh, there's the after picture. There it is. I found it. She was totally my hero when I was a kid. I always look at this and go, oh, you poor thing. Look at that outfit. Now, she must have been not digesting anything. Okay. So we're going to switch gears. We're going to stop barking up the wrong tree. And we're going to help other people stop barking up the wrong tree. So how are we going to do this? We're going to focus on helping our kids be themselves. Let's figure out how to live in your own brain. Let's figure out, this is why I love this. I carry this around with me and I bring it to every single group. We are going to help our kids become themselves. That means we're going to have to be bold and brave and come out of the shadows, get a little embarrassed maybe, and have to fight a couple battles. But our kids are worth it. We have to figure out what works for our kids. And sitting down writing spelling words 10 times each may not be the thing that works for our kids. We're going to use informed expectations. Never stop learning. Always keep learning. And we're going to help our kids learn to live with their brains, and we are going to inform others. So we have 80% of the folks that are going in this direction. They're doing their thing. We need to rewrite the script for our 20%ers. And I have your first steps. Remember, it's a starting point. You modify these strategies the way that works for your family. So first, we got to discover what works for your kid. Here's the good news. They've already been telling you what works for them. If you're having them sit at a table to do math and they are crawling around and going upside down and sideways in their chair, they are telling you what works for them. Get them on the ground so they can go sideways and turn around. I seriously think it's like a blood flow thing. I think their brain's like, I need more water and oxygen. I need more nutrients. I'm dying. I'm trying. I'm really trying, but my power's down. And I swear, because I swear, kids that come in my office and they go on the couch upside down and their head's hanging down and their feet are up on the wall. They're just talking away. Just totally focused, you know. The kids that are fidgeting and you're like, stop fidgeting, stop fidgeting, stop fidgeting, stop fidgeting. The kids that are humming to themselves, they need music. The kids that are talking and 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 talking, they need to talk. They need to talk it out. They're already telling you exactly what they need. Their body is telling you exactly it. So it's not going to be too hard to figure this out. So we also need to reconnect with our kids. Our kids' brain development is delayed, like we talked about. Nothing grows brains better. Well, I guess I can't say that because exercise grows brains better than anything. But just about nothing grows brains better than connecting. Every scientist, every neuropsychologist will talk about the connection between one brain and the next. And your connection with your child's brain ignites their brain faster than anything because you're bonded with them. It's called mirror neurons, and it's beautiful. We need, for their health, to reconnect with them. And we need to teach them healthy work boundaries because it's going to take them twice as long to do some of the same work as other people. They need to be able to learn how to manage that and be healthy because we have lots of adults now that, are, in maybe drinking a lot of alcohol or just really super unhealthy or whatever, or driving themselves crazy and feeling like they're never getting everything done and hypertension and anxiety and all that stuff. We don't want that for our kids. We need to role model self-advocacy because people don't get it. And kind of that's partially our fault because we hid in the shadows. So we have school and we have home, right? So one of the huge problems, one of the number one problems is that uninformed expectation at school, right? Now, to be fair, teachers need to assign homework that works for 80% of the kids, like most assignments, right? And if that homework keeps coming back looking pretty and nice and on time, but sometimes late, then as far as they're concerned, your kid's just like the 80%ers, and they're going to treat them that way and hold them to those expectations, which is not realistic for them. So there's uninformed expectations. So what we need to do is we need to open that communication. Now, I consider homework. Homework is the whole thing. When it comes to homework, I highly recommend this book, Rethink Homework. I think it's backwards on the camera, but Rethink Homework. It gives a history of homework. Homework was born as a political ploy to not put money in education. During the Cold War, Sputnik looked up. Oh my gosh, our kids are falling behind. They're falling behind, and it's just everybody freaked out, and our education system needs to be revamped. Oh my goodness. And instead of putting money into education, they said, yeah, our kids need more stringent education. They need homework. And we've been suffering ever since. Very minimal benefit. There is some. If you can take the content that they're learning at school and make it alive at home, they're learning measurements and milliliters and grams at school, and then you go home and you cook something with them and you apply it and show how it works in life. Beautiful. That highly beneficial. If you're reading with them and showing them the love of reading and the love of discovery and how you can learn and find things through reading, very beneficial. But other than that, any of this rote memory stuff, no benefit to whatsoever. Oh, this isn't actually. Here's another one. This one I recommend with caution because he has gotten onto a platform, Alfie Kohn. He's gotten onto a platform saying we are essentially, homework is a myth, and there's study after study after study, and he cites them and talks about them. That shows that homework is not helpful. The consequence outweighs the benefit. It'll start to frustrate you, make you angry that we're doing. So I suggest that with caution. But if you're curious about it, he is the guru of let's not do homework and grades for that matter either. But so we need, when you have a homework assignment coming home, think of your time. You get those few hours at the end of the day. I want you to think through your daily schedule. They get out of school about here. I get home from work about here, or I pick them up and then we're here. About average, just thinking through how many hours you have with your child at the end of the day. We got 2 hours. How many hours? That is their rest, recuperation, reconnect, and heal from the side eye and the sighs and the I'm exhausted with you and you're so annoying and getting yelled at and stop touching me and that happens throughout the day. That is the time that they have in your love to heal from that. So I consider homework a request, not a demand. We have a very unhealthy relationship with homework that we were raised with, except me because I'm a rebel. Mom's like, I consider homework a request for us, to us, from the teacher, to use our time. 2 hours. She has 2 hours back there. Use our time for their stuff. A request. Request to use our time for their stuff. And we value education and we honor our teachers. So we honor that request. But, and this is a strong recommendation. I recommend every single time your teacher sends home a request to work on their stuff during your time, that request gets a message back that says this is how it went. Every single time. If every person that watches this video, if all of you start to write a message back every day to share how it went, and maybe the message back is, Grandma and Grandpa are in town, we went out for dinner. we didn't get to your work. Sorry. We'll work on it. We plan on working on it tomorrow, or we'll see if we can get to it on the weekend, or although I am really against doing homework on the weekend, but or if your suggestion is, hey, grandma and grandpa are in town, or I'm sorry, your report back to the teacher is, hey, grandma and grandpa are in town. We went out to dinner. I told kiddo he needed to go to bed so that he was rested for school the next day, but he really wanted to get at least something done in your homework. So he got 2 problems out of the 20 done. When that teacher receives a paper that has 2 problems out of the 20 done, and they're like, they half-arsed it, and they're like, can't even be bothered to do the rest of, and they kind of have that reaction when they see that message and they go, oh, they were super tired and they wanted to do at least two. That is a different experience. Our teachers, we have to be fair, they have uninformed expectations. They don't know because we're hiding in the shadows in our shame. Every time, your time with your child is your time with your child. People don't get to tell you what to do with that time. Come on. We value education. That doesn't make you a bad parent. It makes you standing up for your kids' rights and their health. So it is a request for you to use your precious little time on their stuff. They're going to get a message back about it, and about how it went. Now we have enough people doing that. Teachers are going to start to get the idea of what homework time is like for our kids. And then we're going to see some shifts happening. Thank God. So I want you to be really, really bold and commit to yourself to doing that every single assignment. And then we'll have more informed expectations and less arguing and less fighting and less resistance. And I have my high school teacher over here, person going like this, and I have my coach over here who is a vice principal for 9 years doing this as well, especially about the 2 problems on the 20 thing. Do you want to speak to this at all, or?
No, I have to get going, but thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to speak to this at all? No, you don't give homework. Yeah. Most teachers don't like homework. That's the hidden truth, but they can't tell you that. That's not professional because they were told that they have to do homework, right? Most principals I talk to don't like homework, but feel obligated to assign it.
It's a controversial issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, special education definitely anti-homework.
Right.
From my experience.
Right. Right. Yeah. And
hey, thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks. And hey, for the 80%ers, a little practice. Great. You do 20 minutes of practice, which is like 20 problems to them. Great. That works great for the 80%ers, but let's not bark up the wrong tree and apply the 80%er rule to our 20%ers. All right, let's kick out our homework poison. We got some homework poison going on, and this is us barking up the wrong tree, right? We have unpredictable freedoms. Do you have homework? I know the answer to that question. If I say no, there's freedom. If I say yes, there's sit at the table, get yelled at. Nope. Sure don't have homework. Nope. Bottomless time. You're going to sit here and do this until it's done. When you're time blind, 10 minutes feels like 3 hours and 3 hours feels like 10 minutes. That is bottomless time. The switch assumption. Hey, homework time. Switch. Okay. Ding. No, that's not how our kids transition. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. The anti-focus factors. That would be the total silence. It's the stuff that we talked about at the last group last month. And so look at that. The anti-focus factors. Look at the workplace setup video for those. But quiet is super loud for us. Having nothing to fidget with is really uncomfortable, things like that. Pain and discomfort. And then having better options when little sister's watching TV right there and you expect your kid to not look at the TV, forget it. That's disinhibition, and it is one of the symptoms of ADHD, and it is something that they have very little control over. Don't set them up like that. Better options. You have them in their bedroom and their Xbox is right there in their bedroom. If they actually got through homework time and didn't turn that Xbox on, let's go out to dinner to celebrate, frankly, because that's tough. Right? And then that empty dopamine tank. If they don't have an afternoon med after all day long, their dopamine's depleted. They're already running low on dopamine. If they don't have any food, if you don't take meds at the very, very minimum, there needs to be some kind of body movement during homework time that boosts dopamine, and there needs to be food and drink. There needs to be glucose in their bloodstream to feed their brain, to give them what they need. And then, sorry, kid, sorry, mom. And then there's the shit cycle. Using stress at homework time to initiate the task. That's a shit cycle, isn't it? Because it works, which is what's miserable about it, right? My kid will not focus until we get into a blowout nuclear argument. Yes, because that is one of the focus factors for ADHDers. We are amazing in crisis. So if you can induce crisis, which is why stronger parenting used to work temporarily. If you induce crisis, then yes, they will focus for a short period of time, but it is a cycle and it damages their self-esteem and it's not worth it in the long run. So somewhere in there, hidden and what your kiddo's doing and the stuff that's driving you crazy, there is a better way of doing things somewhere in there. And I'm a determined ADHD person, and I think I figured it out. There is a movement, side note, there is an opt-out movement out there of parents who are opting out of homework time. There's templates for letters that say, my time with my kid is my time with my kid. We are opting out of homework. Thank you. Please don't send any home. We might occasionally work extra on something before a test or something, but other than that, look that up. Look at it, check it out. If it's an idea. I don't necessarily subscribe to it. It's pretty controversial. I'm more of a find a middle ground kind of a person. And this is what I found. Something that I call SWAT time. This is going to replace homework time. In fact, we're not even going to call it homework time because homework time has all that yucky feelings associated with it. So we're going to call it SWAT time. Now, SWAT time is schoolwork and organizing things. So you do SWAT time every day, regardless of if there's a homework assignment or not, and regardless of what the homework assignment is or not. You do SWAT time every day because it's a healthy habit to get into, to spend a little time each day getting your stuff together, get prepared for the next day, or, go through your mail, or pay a bill or two. It's healthy to do that, to kind of like check in with yourself and make sure your stuff is where you need it to be, if you need to organize it, or you're following through with whatever expectation somebody has. So it's every day. Now, the rule of thumb is no more than 10 minutes per grade level. That's a rule of thumb. You adjust that with what works for you. I have a first grader at home. We do 20 minutes. We do 20 minutes of SWAT time, and then I have a second grader, and we do 20 minutes of SWAT time. Now, little disclaimer, if at the end of that time limit, that 60 minutes, this is the period of time that you are going to require for SWAT time. But at the end of that, if they are, kicked into gear and they really want to keep going, they're welcome to do that. And then you're going to reward them for that because, wow, awesome. It's not like you absolutely must stop, kind of a thing. Now, however, and this is where you have to adjust it, modify and adjust it for your own family. If you have a highly perfectionist, highly anxious, most likely walking into depression, most likely female, most likely teenager, that describes your child, you might need to put your foot down and say, that's it. And one way also that you could think of it as is that during SWAT time, I will help you, but after SWAT time, maybe I'm not helping you anymore. I'm doing my own thing, going on to do my own thing or something like that. So you can kind of modify and adjust according to which direction you sort of need to pull your child. But what this is that it's a pocket of time in your precious family time, and it's time limited. It's got healthy boundaries around it where you are going to honor education, but you are not going to allow them to dictate how much time you spend on this in your day. And it's based on this assumption that we have priorities to build brains, that our priorities truly is we want our kids to be healthy more than we want them to have straight A's. We want them to be happy more than we want them to have straight A's, and that we prioritize family time above homework, and we prioritize body movement because, oh my gosh, those kids have to sit for a long period of time during the day. It's not healthy. And this SWAT time is going to shift your role. I need to know what time it is again, Mama. 10 after 11? Oh boy. Jen, will you go out and ask them if I can have the room for until 12? They'll say it's fine, but like just the people work at the baristas. All right, went a little too long-winded because I didn't get much practice time. All right, this is going to shift your role into assisting and less directing, which is going to be, it's going to make your heart feel happier too. So this is the good news. All those tears I saw earlier, those we're going to be happier here. All right, so it starts out with a setup. Before you pick them up from school, before school day starts, before any of this, we sit down with them on a Sunday, maybe at a coffee shop or hanging out with a piece of pie or so, I don't know, something lovely. And we have an agreement and we have a visual schedule. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that. Then when it comes to SWAT time, you will have a check-in, do the work, check out, and I'm going to walk you through some guidelines on how to do that. And then at the end of SWAT time, like we talked about at the very beginning of this, you are going to send a message to the teachers for every single request that comes home to you. You will be bugging them. Not bugging them, you're going to be nice and positive, but you're going to send a message back to the teacher explaining how it went. So here's your agreement with your stinker. You sit down with them and say, I love you. And then you say, hey kid, I think my job is, I'm in charge of your health. That's my primary job, right? And I've been thinking about homework time. And I think that doing homework for longer than blah, 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 blah number of minutes is not healthy for you. And they go, I like where this conversation's going, right? And I believe that routine is healthy. And it seems like some days we have homework, sometimes we don't, sometimes we do. And it seems like you do better with routine. And fighting is not healthy for us to be fighting together. Your day's hard enough as it is. And then you have to come home and fight with me. And I don't like it. You don't like it. I don't like it either. So I'm trying to figure out a way through this, right? And also, by the way, your grades are your grades, and you might even need to apologize. I apologize. I've been taking over. This is your accomplishment. This is your grades. Your grades are your grades. Your grades are what you decide you want them to be. And I'm here to help you, but I'm not going to, they're not mine, and I keep taking over, and I'm sorry. And my job, the best part of my job is I get to reward you. My job is to reward you for doing things that are hard, not the outcome. Always reward your child for doing things that are hard. And that is going to be different for child A than child B. So here's my thought. My thought is I'm going to go all the way through the slide. Again. There we go. And then you stick a schedule in front of them that's a timed schedule. And these are how to do these schedules. I cover in these videos here that I put on the slides, and you can watch them later. But you stick this schedule in front of them because they need a map into the future. They need a roadmap into their time because they are time blind, and they absolutely need this posted somewhere to show them what's coming. And you're going to, this is called time blocking, and you can look up time blocking. You can also look up bullet journaling. That'll give you a little guidance on time blocking also. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit, I love this schedule, it's just pretty. You're going to sit them down, and I like that this shows from the beginning of the day to the end of the day rather than just the afternoon, because it can show them in relation, how much homework time is like this little sliver in comparison with the rest of the day, and it can feel less overwhelming for them, and I think that that's a good step for them. So you're going to block out the sleeping time. I'm guessing, I don't know, they wake up at 7 and go to bed at 9. This isn't directions. This is just me guessing to have an example here. Then you're going to block out transition. So they're getting ready for school and going to school. You are going to color that in because for an ADHD brain, anywhere they see white is free time. White is free time. For neurotypical brains, white is the usual routine time. For ADHDers, white is free time. So be careful. If it's not free time, you better get color in there because they think they're going to do video games during that time. You're going to get a fight. Add school in there. You add your drive home, your transition home in there. These are all the unmovables, right? I strongly recommend, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life, but I strongly recommend that you structure in there winding down from the day into bedtime, a good hour, where you are slowly turning off the lights in the house, where we are starting to turn off the screens, where whatever, time, bath time, shower time, and you structure that in there because that is healthy boundaries. They stop, they don't do homework during that time. This doing homework until late at night is wildly unhealthy for your kids' brains. Then you put in there the obligations. You got cheer practice. You got, my child has eye tracking treatment, horse riding lessons. Those are the unmovable things, including the drive time. Overestimate that drive time. If it's 10 minutes away, still block out a half an hour. Then you sit down with them with this, and you go, "Hey, kiddo, we're gonna do 45 minutes. So we're gonna do an hour of SWAT time each day, because remember, routine's healthy. But here's the good news. I'm going to fold this because we believe in Freedom Fridays and that the weekend should be the weekend. And we're going to do SWAT time only Monday through Thursday. And you get to decide where it is and allow them. Now, this is where they're thinking ahead and thinking time management. You're really teaching them how to plan their time ahead of time. And you're going to decide where it is. And they might decide something and you'll revisit it the next Sunday and sit down with the schedule again and say, this is what it is. When's your SWAT time? And they might think, oh, that didn't work last time. That didn't work last week. And they might, make it a different time. Honestly, oddly enough, most kids that I do this schedule with, they opt to have SWAT time immediately after school, which is actually pretty wise, I think. But I want to note that you can play with SWAT time. Maybe one day SWAT time is a little bit longer, and the next day you don't have it at all because you've got, a doctor's appointment, and that only leaves you an hour and a half with your kid, an hour and a half of free time. They need free time. They need fun, freedom, and family every single day. And you go, we're not going to do SWAT time here, but we're going to do a little bit longer like this next day. You can play with it, mess with it a little bit. So you got your agreement. And you say to the kiddo, listen, this is going to happen every day, Monday through Thursday. You get to pick the time. During SWAT time, you're giving them a heads up. During SWAT time, I am going to stay near you. Because I'm in charge of making sure I provide for you what you need. And you are in charge of telling me what you need. So now we are not going to command and demand that they get our help during homework time. And obviously you have to age appropriately. Like my second grader needs my help during homework, or my first grader needs my help. But you're not going to command that, but you're going to be available for help. And then you're going to let them know, and this is the part they're not going to like because they are used to hiding in the shadows because their brain is different. You're going to let them know, and I'm going to every single teacher that sends home homework gets a message back from me. And whatever you finish in that time, you finish in that time. And if you don't finish your work, I'm going to go to bat for you. I got your back. And we're going to figure it out. But Miss Johnson's going to be really mad at me. Just tell her to talk to me. I'm going to go to bed. I will fight that battle for you. You commit to this SWAT time each day. I will take care of the rest. And we will figure it out. And truly, I don't have blanket guidance for you on that because it totally depends on the teacher. You get somebody like Jen, and Jen's just going to be happy, that she got a message from the teacher. You have another teacher who might go, I don't need to know what it's going to be like every night. But stop sending me these messages back, and then you're going to end up in a 504 meeting. And that's fine too. Where every teacher, it's going to be different. And this is where getting a coach or getting somebody like me or getting on a consultation with me even or something like that will really kind of help guide you through that process. With the note back, email is a really good one because it has a date and stamp on it. And it's really easy for the teachers to be able to do a quick search and then pull up your email real fast. With the little ones, when they have little packets that go home and then it has to go back on Fridays, like a little written note on the side is fine. It doesn't have to be an email every single time for third graders and stuff either. You work it to what works for you. And then you let the kid know, and you're going to help me write the message. I'm not here to badmouth you. I'm not going to say, well, he didn't even concentrate and he didn't even, and you're not going to make them earn this message. You're going to bat for them because they did something during SWAT time. If they are fiddling with a paperclip for half of the time and working for the other half, you're going to bat for them. They showed effort. We're going to reward effort. Okay, and I can talk you through the troubleshooting Tuesdays and stuff. I can talk you through all the like troubleshooting parts of it. Like, what if I find them, you know, and they're not doing it, or they're getting it all wrong, or stuff like that? What do I do here and there? So we're going to talk through the sequence of events that happens after school. I'm going to show you how this plays out after school. So we got our setup all done, right? We got our schedule, we got our agreement with our kiddo. Then we go into transition mode. ADHDers are notorious for not doing well with transitions. And the truth about oh yeah, this is the hint to pause for a second. Be nice to your kids. They have to be with normal people all day long. It's exhausting. Normal people. Ugh. Got this kid cracking up over here. All right. The truth about transitions. We think that the problem is the getting started. It's actually the stopping. Disinhibition is the problem for ADHDers. We struggle with stopping whatever we're doing. Transition means stop what you're doing, shift, choose to do something different, have all the motivation and dopamine in your brain to be able to push go and go. It's not the getting started on homework, it's being able to stop their brain on the mode that they're in already. So transitions are difficult. If you pick up your kid after school and you can keep their brain in school mode and not allow their brain, like try to resist allowing their brain to transition out of school mode, you're going to get your best deal out of that. If they have soccer practice after school activities, they absolutely need a break, and you're totally adamant that they totally need a break or whatever, and they do transition out of school mode, I have your strategy. In both of those scenarios, I've got a strategy that works in both of those scenarios. And what it does is it manually transitions their brain back into thinking mode, and it pulls back on their hindsight and their past, brings it into their now, pushes into their future, brings that into their now, and then, okay, greases the wheels. So either try not to let them transition, or if they do transition into out of school mode, use this strategy. I call it manual transition. Since their brains aren't doing a great job of it, we're going to manually do it. And what I want you to do is just look down at your car at your 6 shift. And that's your guidance. Okay? I feel so proud of myself because I feel like this part's so clever. I'm so clever. All right. And I've done this with my own kids. I experimented and tried it out on my own kids. Park it. Wait until they're stopped. Don't talk them through. Don't do these questions and talk them through while you're all walking to the car, while you're walking away from the car, while you're walking through the door, while you're putting back tags down. Wait until they are parked. Give them food. That usually parks them pretty fast. Give them some kind of food or drink, and then they usually park it and they'll dial in. Or you have them trapped in the car with you. Then they're parked, right? So wait until they're parked. Then you're going to think reverse. You're going to ask them not, how did your day go? You aren't going to ask them. You can ask them that question later. This is, tell me something from your day. So all your goal is not to assess their day, how their day goes, or anything I need to worry about. That's not the goal of this conversation. This goal is to push their brain into the past, because that's not what ADHDers naturally do. So we are just saying, tell me something from anything. If it's in the past, we're on the right track. That's all I want, just something from your past, right? So pulling their brain into that day. Tell me something from your day. I actually get better answers when I ask that question than other questions. Then you're going to keep them there and ask a very neutral, not, is that a problem, doing it and not investigating, just a super as neutral question, follow-up question to whatever they say as you possibly can. It's super like, well, what was that? Or what? I don't know. Just not a worrisome parent investigating question, just super, super neutral, okay? Then you're going to drive forward and you're going to say, what's something you're looking forward to? So if you're driving home, so what's something you're looking forward to? I'm looking forward to playing with my next door neighbor. I'm looking forward to Xbox. I'm looking forward to playing video games. I'm looking forward to texting my boyfriend. I'm looking forward to, what are you looking forward to? And then you say, okay, there's your target. All right, let's do it. So let's get SWAT done so that you can have that thing. So now you've set in their mind SWAT, and this is what you got to do to get there. We are target-oriented brains. This is how our brain motivates, is that motivation, that's that